someone to put on the air right now is Rupert Bell. He's called in. He's a Talk Radio's royal commentator, of course, and joining us to talk about, well, being merkled. Rupert, good morning to you. Tell us what being merkled means.
Basically means shut out of a friendship group. The Markles have fallen out with the Beckhams, by all accounts. All about, and the reason, so allegedly, is that they think, i.e. Harry and Meghan, that the Beckhams were leaking stories about them, which has supposedly sent David Beckham into a bit of a tizwas because he's angry about that. And so clearly they're no longer speaking. Bear in mind that Posh and David were at their wedding, and, you know, obviously they were friends with them, it would seem, but now that friendship has been frozen out. So,
well, isn't there a thing that I mean, God, I mean, how to keep up with these ridiculous people? I mean, really, that the Beckhams didn't invite Harry and Meghan to their son's wedding, to this multi-millionaire socialite. No, I mean, ridiculous people. I mean, this is how you show if you're in the gang or you're not in the gang. But there does seem to be this pattern. Two things. One is Meghan herself basically clearing out people. There doesn't seem to be any sort of long-standing friends, any colleagues. She seems to just sort of drop people along the way. We know pretty much most of her family, other than her mother. And also that does seem to be a pattern in America of them being dropped by many of the big celebrities. And of course, you know, this fuss a couple of weeks ago about them trying to apparently get a hitchhiker lift on the Bidens' plane home from the Queen's funeral and being told, I don't think so, that they're being left quite isolated.
Yeah, and there's always a sense of desperation at times with their attempts at friendship. When you actually compare the two couples, they're quite an interesting sort of, if you look at them, of how they've gone about breaking America. Now, David Beckham, hugely successful footballer. What's going to happen to him after that? Well, he's made his career work for him. Of course, there's been ups and downs. You look at Posh Spice, she was probably perceived as the one who didn't do too much in the Spice Girls, but except look posh.
Except she isn't.
But she's made a go of her costume, her fashion business. But that's not easy. You know, I'm going to give her credit here because she's worked at it, and yet. So therefore, they've sort of made sure they seem to still be relevant.
Oh, they've got a brand. They're worth a fortune. Their children are part of the brand. Look, I mean, I doubt that I can even get one of Posh Beckham's dresses over my left finger, my left hand. I mean, right, they're so tiny. I just feel sorry for any woman who's clearly not had a proper meal in 20 years. I mean, you know, all credit to her. But this is the thing. You know, we've got these two big sort of brands, celebrity brands, and this is the issue with the Sussexes. Royalty isn't the same as celebrity. It doesn't work like that.
No, exactly. And you can't just live off being part of a family unless you are in it, when you can then use your brand to good effect, just as we're seeing with William at the moment with his involvement in the Earthshot prize and the video that's come out with that. He's able to use his royal connections, and as he's part of it, to build that brand and what he's trying to achieve there. What are the Sussex trying to build at the moment? Apart from after what they've done, which is they're leaving the royal family, and then now, where do they go from here? They are struggling to build the brand, whereas you look at brand Beckham, they're continuing to be relevant. What's David Beckham doing? Starting a football team that's got Messi playing for it. Well, that keeps him totally in the sort of celebrity zeitgeist, and that's why they are still relevant, and whatever you may think.
And that's why they're still all over the websites and over social media and the like. I tell you, who's always on the front pages, they're Prince William and Kate. I mean, and their PR team at Buck Palace. They really are, Kensington Palace, wherever they are now. They are working round the clock. We have some video footage of Prince William working at a food van, serving Earthshot veggie burgers. He launched the 2020 Earthshot Prize to help, he says, repair and regenerate the planet. He was helping to serve them. Apparently, the diners were shell-shocked. I mean, it's extraordinary. William and Kate cannot move for very, very positive media coverage. The Sussexes can't move for very, very negative media coverage. How much of this does that reflect the reality, and how much of this is just, you know, the tabloids and the websites? I mean, everyone's decided this is, you know, these is the saint and the sinner, and everyone's decided to go with that narrative.
there is a degree of that. However, what you look at, if you're looking at the two issues, the environmental issue, which is something that both families are interested in, you see William's approach to it with this YouTube video. It's a bit of fun. He's even been self-deprecating. You say he thought of this when he had hair. So that's actually, for William, is quite a good line, you know, because we know he's a bit follically challenged, but he's making a light of it, you know, and that shows that he's got a sense of humour and he's approaching this issue with a bit of fun. But on the other hand, you look at the way the Sussexes approach that, it's very earnest and sort of very worthy. So there's two definite narratives about the way they're playing it. You pays your money and you takes your choice, but I know which one I like.
Yeah, exactly. Someone actually doing their job. The cutting of the ribbons might be a bit boring at times, but that's what you're paid to do. You get the palace for. Rupert Bell, our royal commentator, thank you very much indeed for that. Emma Revel, political commentator. I'm sure you're desperate to talk about the royals, aren't you? Your face is an absolute picture.
Well, I'd seen the Prince William video, but the Harry and Meghan falling out with the Beckhams, I must admit, until this morning, had completely passed me by.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of sitting in cars, driving along Sicilian motorways with fire on either side, so I got a bit bored, obviously, so I was checking things. Let's come back to one of the other big issues today. Tax seems to be a big issue. Two front pages today, one about inheritance tax, all these extra families being drawn into it, and shopping tax for tourists. Big issue for the Daily Mail. They've got a big campaign on this tourists facing VAT, which, I mean, do you think these are going to be massive voting issues at the next election?
No, I don't think either of those would be enormous voting issues, although inheritance tax never fails to amaze me that it's consistently one of the most unpopular taxes.
It's seen as very unfair.
Despite the very small percentage of people who ever end up paying it, or estates, I should say, because, you know, the people have passed on. It's incredibly unpopular. I don't necessarily think it's what sways you come voting
day. It won't be the deal breaker.
No, but it is part of a narrative of fairness around tax, I think.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, if we have fairness around tax, can we move the thresholds for people who are paying higher rates of tax when they're still on average incomes? That would be the starter point for me.